There are marks on the ground, a fresh indication of another shooting incident which has troubled a community, a state, a country. Keith Lamont Scott, a black man, was sitting in his car near his home in Charlotte, North Carolina, waiting for his son. Police approached. A few minutes later, he was lying, dying on the ground. What happened? Well, that's where the stories start to differ. Taisha Williams says she saw everything, from the first to the last fatal moments.
He got out his car with his hands up to comply because the police told him to get out the car. He got out the car, the book fell off his lap, the book he was reading. He got out the car, and then he walked around his car to the back of his car. When he walked back there, when his wife was running down saying, "No, stop, don't do that," by the time she got right here to where his car was, they had shot that man 4 times.
But the police insist Keith Scott had a gun and their officers were worried for their safety.
The officers gave loud, clear, verbal commands, which were also heard by many of the witnesses. They were instructing the subject, once he got out of the vehicle, to drop the weapon. In spite of the verbal commands, Mr. Scott, as I said, exited his vehicle armed with a handgun as the officers continued to yell at him to drop it. He stepped out, posing a threat to the officers, and Officer Brentley Vinson subsequently fired his weapon, striking the subject.
News of the killing brought protests onto the streets of Charlotte. They turned violent. Stores and vehicles were attacked. Police in riot gear came under attack. Bricks and bottles thrown in their direction. They responded with tear gas. Several officers were injured. Carissa Hernandez heard the shots. She insists the police story makes no sense.
Why will you have a gun when you're waiting for your son to get off the school bus? He wasn't a criminal. He was on disability. He was at home recovering from a motorcycle accident. Him having a gun just does not add up.
This is the latest officer-involved killing of a black man. Local activists in Charlotte have called for an economic boycott, more protests in memory of Keith Scott, to raise public awareness, to stop it happening again. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera, Charlotte, North Carolina.